society draws on each other to create the collective strength which makes a strong, resilient and tolerant society. And your commitment to your communities and your commitment to giving up your time, to conferring your time, your energies, your expertise for charitable endeavours in your community is again, I think, a wonderful, wonderful example, not just to Muslim communities up and down Britain, but again, really strengthens the sinews of Britain, modern Britain as a whole. And there's one other thing that I would like to point out, which is not always the case, not always universal. It doesn't apply to everybody, but it's something that certainly strikes me as I meet, talk to, listen to Muslim friends and colleagues up and down the country, which is a commitment to learning. Which is why I've got no doubt that student issues and how our higher education system should be run. There is a wonderful passion and belief in the value of learning. And that is something which, like any old-fashioned liberal, I passionately believe in. Education is the great liberator. It is the great enricher. It opens horizons. Without education, we will not create the seedbed of tolerance and mutual respect, without which a tolerant and peaceful society cannot flourish. And so for all of those reasons, your commitment to family, your respect for the old, your care for the young, your commitment to your community through charitable work, and the significance and importance that you attach to learning, I want to thank you for whatever you do every day of every week and every week of every month, and remind you to be proud of what you have achieved, and to knock hard on the door of politicians like myself and challenge me and my party, as Harish rightly did, because you are not adequately represented in us. One of the reasons I've always been a liberal and always will be is because I celebrate and rejoice in the diversity of modern Britain. I kind of have to. I'm married to a Spaniard, my mum's Dutch, my dad's half Russian. I mean, you know, I'm condemned to celebrate diversity. And yet, diversity is not represented in us. And that is a collective failure on behalf of the. Well, there are lots of good reasons I can give you. I'm afraid we're not a party which has lots and lots of constituencies which have voted Liberal Democrats from the dawn of time and will do until the end of time. So we can't sort of hand out constituencies to candidates like confetti, like the other parties can. We have to work and scrimp and save and campaign and knock on every door, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. And that by definition means that you have to draw, in a sense, on a pool of very stubborn, very resilient and very, very determined folk who tend to sometimes mimic each other. But those are excuses. We must become more diverse. If we want to represent modern Britain needs to be represented in us. And I want you to continue to challenge us on that, and I want to continue to work with you to be the standard bearer of tolerance, of mutual respect, and of all of the values that we all collectively hold dear here this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Dumian is just going to now present an award on behalf of the Islamic Culture Centre to the Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Nick Clegg. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for Salah is going to be in about 10 minutes' time. I'm going to ask Nick if you're going to join Sarah on the stage there. We're going to take some questions now. Nick's going to answer from the stage. We're going to give Nick a mic. And after Salah, we'll be continuing the question and answers. The questions have always been picked, so we're going to go to the first questions from our North Primary School. Can I have our North Primary School, please?
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. We are the pupils of Unknown Muslim Primary School. Given the continuing financial crisis, what hope do young people like us have growing up in the
पहले निकाल के रखना था।
Growing up in the future, prospects of high like university fees and finding the future and like
Nick. All right. You should be very hopeful. We should all be very hopeful. Just because we have suffered a terrible shock to our country, which happened back in 2008, it was a bit like a heart attack. We're all recovering collectively from this great big cardiac arrest at the centre of our economy. The banks are a bit like a heart that pumps money around the body of the economy. And the heart stopped pumping. It just, and we had to then give it emergency surgery, and you had to all reach deep into your taxpayer's pocket, and we had to sort of get it moving again, and the blood is starting to circulate again. So this is a slightly gory way of talking about it. But you should think about it in those terms. It really is a bit like a body that has suffered a terrible shock. And it takes a bit of a while to get better, but if you repair things in the right way and don't repeat the mistakes of the past, but make sure that we don't have that heart attack again, so the banks can't again do bad and irresponsible things and then tell the rest of us that we have to somehow pay for their mistakes, but make sure that the banks are healthy again and they lend money to people who need it so that they can create jobs for you in the future. I'm actually very optimistic, because I genuinely believe that what makes all of us human beings special, and something that I think makes the United Kingdom special, is that we can learn from our mistakes. It's just like in your life. You've learned, no doubt, you're doing your homework, you learn from your mistakes, you don't repeat them next time. We made a monumental mistake as a country, over-relying on too much risk-taking, too much short-termism, too much debt, allowing the people in the City of London to get away with blue murder. We learned from all of that, and if we repair things, as I think we are, it's taking longer than I hoped, I actually think we can be incredibly hopeful about our future. And you mentioned, do you want to go to university? Do you worry that you can't go to university? Don't worry, you can go. Anyone can go to university. And if there's one myth I desperately want to dispel, is this idea that it is now unaffordable to go to university. And let me give you a couple of facts just to reassure you. Under this new system of fees that we've introduced, when you go to university, because you look like a very, very bright girl, I'm sure you will go to university. When you go to university, you will pay back less from your own earnings and from your bank account every week and every month in the future than graduates did in the past. You have to pay back longer, but you'll pay back less. And if you can't afford to pay anything, you won't pay anything. And if you can't pay back what you owe at the end of your working life, the government will pay the rest for you. There's absolutely nothing which stops anyone from going to university, because you don't need to pay a penny when you go to university. You only start paying back when you can afford to do so, years after you've left university. So you have so many things on your young, bright shoulders to deal with already. Please don't worry about that.
Thank you very much, Nick. Now we're now going to pray for Maghrib Salah. Please hold on to your admittance card. After Salah, please come back straight away, and we'll be starting the next round of questions. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.